All right, happy Sunday. We will go through some charts. This will just be a pickup from our weekend and just get an overview of what we're going into for next week's trading week. Thank you, everyone that joined our session yesterday. I did enjoy it. I think we had a pretty good turnout, and I hope it was helpful to a lot of people that are kind of starting their journey and just wanting to get a little bit more context and understanding in the chart. So hopefully that was helpful. Shout out to Selena. I can't wait to do another one with her. I'll probably let her take lead this next one. I do like for us to kind of tag team it. We do have different styles of trading, but I could listen to Selena talk about charts for a long period of time too. So very glad we were able to sync up. And so thanks for everyone that joined. I did post the video today for that session. So if you didn't get to join live, you're able to go back and watch it from that session. It's a little bit long. I think we did about an hour and 30 minutes of a just a study group looking at charts and kind of talking through. I didn't want to go over a whole bunch of charts. I wanted to just be able to look at just a few and kind of talk through what we were seeing and make it make sense to the eyes. So we'll go through some charts that I kind of have on my watch list. But first, we'll take a look at what's ahead on the economic calendar. We always want to stay ahead of that. So let's just pull that up real quick. Okay, so let's see. Monday, we're going to be going. Okay, yeah, so this is the right date. So here's what we have on for next week. So we have the S&P Global Manufacturing PMI. We have construction data. So I would be watching companies like that, and other construction and manufacturing companies. Look at those sectors, that sector, and see how they're performing. Post data drop. So that data will drop during market hours. So it gives you a little bit of time to see how the market will handle that, or if it'll give you any type of momentum moves from just what results we get. So here's what's forecasted, and this is what you'll be looking for if you want to see how this could impact the market and that particular um, sector. You can use ChatGPT and just ask the right questions. Tuesday, we have JOLTS data. So we have some JOLTS job openings and JOLTS job quits dropping. We have Fed speaking. I thought I saw somewhere that Powell was speaking as well. Did I see that? Okay, so yeah. Actually it's not Powell, it's Fed Waller. Okay. So yeah, going back to where we were. So Tuesday there's some data with the jolts. You want to be mindful of that. We have ADP employment on Wednesday. So we have some data dropping. ISM service employment, S&P Global Composites, crude oil, more feds. Then we have challenger job cuts on Thursday. We have all of the unemployment data dropping. This could be a pretty volatile week. Um, Consumer credit change on Friday. Yeah, I would definitely be very mindful of the data we have and just do your research and homework on how that can impact any trades that you're in. Make sure you're using a stop loss. And I mean, well, if the data drops and you're in a trade prior to market open and it's contracts, then yeah, it could be a bit of a challenge to get out of it. But again, just be mindful of anything that you're in and what that means with the data that we have ahead. Let's take a look at our screeners real quick. And what we want to see is how we close. So let's go to our heat map and let's just take a look. So look at NVIDIA. NVIDIA was down to almost 3% on Friday. So after that move into the 140s after post earnings, they dropped quite a bit. Tesla, I actually seen a pretty high volume of puts orders in after that run up on Tesla. So I'm not surprised to see that they're down a little over 3%. So we had some pullbacks. Walmart was up almost 2%, Costco up 3%. Pretty nice move right there. Palantir was the star of Friday, I must say. Like Palantir went nuts, up, down, up again, and every direction paid well. So if you caught that, congratulations. I was watching on the sidelines, didn't even take the trade. but looks like it did the move that I was expecting. And so we went over the Palantir chart a bit on our call yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday in the study group session. So I won't spend too much time on that. Lily had a 2% move. So I do have plans to look at the chart. And we can change this so you don't have to just stick to the S&P. You can look at the Russell and see if anything's standing out there, the NASDAQ. CXN, I haven't looked at that chart. QCOM down quite a bit, 2%. ARM down almost closer to 3%. So we had some red in the market and we had some green in the market. And then it looks like for the day, Google, Microsoft, Meta, AVGO, Amazon, kind of closing neutral, slightly under, slightly over. That's why we see the gray. So if you're ever looking to see how things are going, use your heat map. I would also like to say that whenever you're in a day, maybe midday, you can pull up the 4 hours, see what's been trending for the last 4 hours. You can pull up the 1 hour, see what was trending the last 1 hour, and you can filter through here. You can set it to all US companies. You can set it to the S&P, the Dow Jones, the NASDAQ, the Russell. I haven't looked at the screeners in a while, so maybe I can take a quick peep at screeners, quick peek at our screeners and see what we're doing. So interesting. AT&T is moving a little bit. They've been performing green consistently all the way through. Pretty interesting to see. So I would say AT&T is something maybe we'll look on your it looks to be small account friendly by the price. We could probably take a look at it. Usually when I use this screener, I like to just kind of see what has my attention. I do screen and use volume as one of my points of reference as to what truly I want to focus my attention on. So you can see that last week was the inside week for AT&T. They could gap up. They have a nice little gap up right here to where they would hit sellers if that's what they were going to do, or they can pull back all the way down to this fair value gap. So this is not a ticker that I follow. They're also pretty high up. On the monthly chart, bears at 30 and take it down to the day. They probably have a squeeze up to about 28 to $30 from where they are now. Um, Not one that I follow. I would again just kind of keep an eye on it, but based on last closing on Friday, they broke the high of Thursday's candle. So that's interesting to see. They can try to gap up to the high of this candle and challenge it there at 28.26. Again, not a ticker I'm following, just something I see that's showing up on the screener. Verizon is also there. I have my screener currently set to, and I can change this a little bit to 60 just to get ahead of what may be breaking out. I have it broken down to price at $1 to $60. I have RSI set to 2 hours at 60 or above. Yeah, above 60. And then analyst ratings, I have it. Let's just filter down to buy and strong buy. And so you can see what's trending. Coca-Cola, Walmart, AVGO is on there, Verizon, few companies I'm not familiar with. That's when I typically go in and start to dig into their charts and look at balance sheets and just the overall company. If it's not a company I've ever touched before, you don't ever want to just trade blindly. Um, J&J had a nice pullback a while back. I was trading it to the downside, as you can see with those purple lines. And so it looks like it hit some support and now it's moving over right into bear territory. So unless they're going to break the high of 157.94, they could have just come back to test this 200 and then have another pullback. But I will delete this off my chart. And I'll probably watch this one. They actually do really well when you're trading them, if you catch them on a nice move. So that's one to watch. They're pretty good for swing trades. Not the fastest moving stock. ATR is set at $2.65. But with them being in bear territory, if they don't break this high of this candle, then I don't see anything special happening. They'll probably pull back again. If they do, actually, this is worth setting an alert because they have a nice gap up from here, looking at it from the daily. So I'm going to set my alert on J and J at 157.94. Not going to watch it. Set an alert. If the move happens, I'll get an alert to pay attention. We need price to not only break it, but hold. We've had a few attempts, so you can see why it is a significant area. When we pull back to it or broke out of it, we failed on the retest. And we've just been trying to break it, and there's just been no success there to hold. So if they do come back and attempt again and hold, then we have a nice gap up on J and J. So I would say that is worth adding to your watch list. I have the inverse arc already playing out around the 22nd. It's just I wasn't watching them. It would have been nice to catch that move up to where they are now. But they're 200, so in theory, we'd want to see price break above the 200, start to get that crossover of the 12 EMA back above the 200, and then the break of this 157.94. I've traded them, and I think in a swing trade to the downside, it's pretty good trade. So I would say keep them on your watch list. It's worth it. Roblox has been on the move. That's another one that is typically small account friendly. I mean, they've just been on go. And the thing is, when your kids are into this Roblox, why not let Roblox pay for the love they have when they're looking for Robux? So here we are. We broke a key high of 75.74. And so for the month, they closed at 86.98. We'll have to see how this month comes and performs. They're just on the uptrend. They have earnings at the top of August. They've already I mean, the arc was here. So if you were watching and got in at this candle, this was a nice gap up just from here where we have the inverse arc. We have a price right at the 12 EMA and breaking it and holding. We had a little weak candle here and then a nice explosive move back to the upside from there. We got a BOS. That's always something good. So we had a change of character down here. And we're looking at it from the weekly, excuse me. And so on the weekly chart, things look really good. And so we know that Roblox can continue to go. Um, the challenge from what I'm seeing here would be closer to $90. One can only hope for a pullback because I mean they just look really good. I think our next confirmation from this change of character here would be to get another break of structure popping up. So this is just a 3-day look. Let's go to the daily. How will we trade this? Honestly, it's too high for me to want to touch it. It needs to cool off. The winners in this would have been anyone building positions from that big drop in April, where they were literally in the 50s. And then from there, you get a perfect play out here. We get the inverse arc on the wolf chart in a very bullish order block, and we get price breaking above the 12 EMA. And then we get the climb. We're getting break of structures and change of characters popping up on there, and we have done really well. So the winners of Roblox are those that were buying their shares here and just letting this baby ride out. I mean, you're doing really good if you were able to build a position here. So as you can see, the screen kind of gives you some, but I don't like that. It's really post moves, like most of the move is done. I want to catch things ahead of time, so I'm going to tweak it a little bit to try to get in, see what we can find ahead of that, ahead of the move. Like some of this is already showing the move has been made. I'm gonna get off this screener. Just wanted to play with a few. So Disney was a nice trade after like post earnings, and so why not trade Disney to make funds to go to Disneyland, right? That would be great. Clear that up. Okay. So what are we getting in Disney? We're getting Disney trying to break down this order block right here. This order block, it's been here since March of 2025. They are in the daily here. We got the inverse arc catching up again post earnings. This pink line that you see is just me adding in an anchored VWAP following their earnings. And as you can see, they've been well above their anchor VWAP. Even had a nice gap up from after earnings all the way here, and they hit this order block and pull back. So we'll have to see if they really will actually break out this order block and start to try to get and test around 116. So I will get off the screener. I do want to play with it. I haven't really used my screener recently. I've just been sticking to my go-tos because I've been really busy, but it's yielding a few little interesting moves here. So let's go to our watch list. So a few people wanted to check out UNH, and we can do that. And what's happening with UNH? Look at that wick right here. This was a very bullish, I'm sorry, yeah, very bullish order block. And I can't remember where I found this order block in the charts. Like you got to scrunch all the way in. So that means UNH had not been to this price since 20, I think it was like 2020. Yeah. And so to come full circle and close a gap that has never been closed until now, you got to expect that type of reaction. I mean, it was like an immediate wake up and buy. Now what we're getting on UNH is an inverse arc. So we're getting an inverse arc at this fair value gap here on the daily chart. And we have a few things going on. We'll have my 12 EMA, and we need price to gap up there and hold. And I also have this anchored VWAP from their earnings, because at earnings they dropped pretty significant. See that fair value gap right here? Big drop. Very, very profitable move if you took a risk and had puts open on UNH. But anyway, here we are, full circle. And people have it looks like, people are buying shares, they're getting orders maybe to play out to their next earnings, which is July 16th. I would keep UNH on watch at this level. I think it's definitely worth it when they do move, they do move big. Let me zoom out to the monthly real quick. So on the monthly, they pulled back to the 200 and tested it, something that had not happened since way back here. They've been well above the 200 when you look at it from the monthly standpoint. So that's a pretty significant drop and move all the way back to close a wide range where we have our EMAs wide apart from each other. Now we get this pullback test at a very key support level that I have on my chart. So I'm moving a little bit fast because I want to cover a few more. But what I will say about UNH is their next opportunity could be to get back around this 323 area, right? So that's something to watch. What we don't want to happen is for them to lose this fair value gap and come right back down here and then this time lose this support. You got to watch it play out both ways. You have to be prepared for either direction. We know that they are very news sensitive, and so news has dropped and impacted this stock. But now we're getting some candles pop up. This is the second, on the 3-day, this is the second green candle that we've seen popping up. And we're also on the 1 hour, I'm sorry, the daily, getting a confirmation. I keep them on watch. The key here is for them to at least come test this 12 EMA, but I do like that they have this inverse arc happening here. So I'm going to actually have them on watch with price needing to hold above 303, 303.38. All right, we get that alert, 303.38. And then we can come here and watch and see whether or not our next theory plays out, which is for price to come around this 312 area, and then ideally to come try to test this anchored VWAP and hold above a previous week high, and then gap up from there. I will have that alert set. If not, I'll be watching to see what it does in this fair value gap and if we lose and come back down here. I will say again, UNH, we all, if you've been rocking with me, you know that when we make the moves on UNH, it's very profitable. So I like it. Um, let's see. Some I'm gonna add to my watch list because they are dropping and it is worth it to watch. Shout out to one of our wolf traders who called out ZOMB. We're getting close to this order block, which is really where I will want to catch it. We've been here before, And I mean, the lower the better. But what I do like is they have earnings coming up July 25th and they're down, right? So what I want to see is just how low they are going to go down. And then from there, ideally, I want to be able to set up a swing trade based off of that. So what I'm looking for is a play like this. We get an arc, and then we can go 108 has been such an area between 110, 108 ZOMB for a while. It's really in a box. Like I can go ahead and take a box to this all. It's just trading in this rectangle space between the 100s and yeah, it got a little bit low here, right? Everything got low in April, but it's in a box. Ideally, it has to kind of get past that 110 area. If it can do that, you're getting yourself a nice confirmation. But catching ZOM, when it gives us an inverse arc, I'm just going to do something like this. I'm going to come here, right click on my wolf trend moving average, and I'm going to set an alert that's going to tell me when we get a crossover of the two lines that make up the wolf trend moving average. So I'm going to just set that. And then that way I don't have to stare as I'm hoping I catch the arc crossover. I'll just get alerted when it happens on the daily chart, just like that. I like things easy, so if I can just sit back and wait for stuff to play out, and then hey, I'll get when this happens here, I'll be alerted, and Zom will have my attention. Let's see. So I won't do too much with Zom. I just want to call out they're getting close to this order block. If they continue to pull back, earnings is set for July 25th. So this could be a nice positioning area to soon start building a position. You just can't do anything until you have true confirmation. Um, I left a runner on PDD, and let's just look at the gap down. In fact, Friday I was up really nice on this one. I'll clean all this up. Okay. And let's go to add the pro and let's see where we're at. So what I like about PDD that left me confident to leave a runner is we've lost the anchor VWAP that I added on earnings. So when they drop really low, like the drop, if you swung puts for their earning as your play, then the gap down was crazy. They were down by closing at $16. I think they gapped down way more than that. It's just what happened is that opening right away they sprung up. But I wasn't convinced with this bounce, so I kind of wanted to watch. And so if we started getting price falling on the small time frames under the anchor VWAP. And then as you can see, we lost anchor VWAP. We're well above under the 200. We got the arc forming. We have the 12 EMA here. So everything's happening. We actually get that what we call the debt cross when the 200 crosses the 12 EMA. And now a further confirmation for me is that we are under this red trend line. So I will look at this as a very significant floating candle on the wolf chart. And so that leads me to believe that maybe we can come back around 93, 94. So we'll see. I left one open. I think I did. And took some profit off the table on that trade. But I do think that it was one of my favorites for the week. It was pretty easy because I just wasn't convinced that this pop-up would do anything serious. Now, we covered NVIDIA yesterday. I really don't want to do too much on NVIDIA. We could do SPX. I've been loving SPX. So I'm just thankful for whoever started bringing it to my attention because it's really nothing scary to trade. You look at see all those the big numbers and it's like, but the way you can turn 100 into 400, 400 into 1,000. I mean, you can turn 1,000 into 100 into 1,000 with SPX when you catch the right move. So what it did on Friday was a very healthy pullback from this gap up here, from this candle here. We even lost the previous day low. So I wasn't anticipating it to pop out on Friday. In fact, I was thinking, hey, it's Friday, profit taking. We just had NVIDIA earnings. I wasn't even expecting NVIDIA to do anything special post earnings. when Friday was right there. So I expected more profit taking. I feel like the market did just what I thought it would do. Um, Except for Palantir, surprised the heck out of me with that one. Um, Kind of getting a issue where they need to really break and hold above this resistance line that you can kind of mark, we'll mark it here at like what? $5,924.21. And then a break above that gets us to come test the high of Thursday's candle. So you want to kind of just watch to see how we open up and how we're challenging the high of Friday when we open on Monday. Keep in mind we have data that will definitely impact the market moves, so that's something to be aware of. And then all they did recently was come back to this fair value gap, a nice move into it, and at the 12 EMA for support. Now, Thursday, I mean, $100 contract was well within the thousands overnight. But guess what? We opened up Friday with some data and this back and forth with Trump in the courts about his tariffs. It all impacted the market. It just wasn't that smooth ride or gap up. I personally don't like to do ODTEs on SPX unless it's really early in the morning and a very powerful move early in the morning. Otherwise, there's just nothing here other than I like to catch it on a healthy pullback where I see that there's an opportunity to close the gap up or down. So, and then I'm more comfortable holding a swing on it than anything. Something to also keep in mind here is there is a gap that we have not yet closed in this area here. So price hasn't come back to 57, $5,720 yet. And so we're all the way up here. The 200 is positioned here, and there's still a trend line they can come back and test if they clear this fair value gap and lose a 12. I would anticipate a test at the 200. And if we get any type of sell-off based on data, based on news, it's something Trump tweets, then there again, there's a gap that we still didn't fill. So I was telling everyone, hey, we got a gap to fill, and we did a little piece of it, right? But it wasn't closing the gap that I'm looking at. That will happen at some point. You can kind of see it if I take away all of this here. Okay, there's a gap here that we still have to fill. And I'm just looking at that from the 15 minute. Still a gap down that we can fill. And then if we look at it from the daily, you can see the gap that I'm talking about. So if we fill this space up right here, price could definitely come fill this gap. I mean, it can even come right here. So something to watch is a gap here. Um, and we all know things can come full circle. We also are looking at where we've kind of formed a double top or M pattern. So that's also something where you get the M coming out and then we come back here. So I would just keep watch to see if we come into this space right here and try to close the gap in this area and find some support. That's the story in SPX. I'm really not super bullish with it here. I think the market needs to probably come back and test a little bit support, but I don't want to also be overly bearish. So I will just play what the day gives on this one. Um, let's see. Hmm, NVTS. So NVTS had a really nice gap up and then they had a healthy pullback from that gap up and then they went crazy. And so I was able to catch that. And so if what we're looking for is nothing to be afraid of. This is a nice pullback that NVIDIA gave, but what I was watching, I think I caught one of Stocks with Josh videos, yeah, and he was calling out NVTS. They weren't even really on my radar, honestly. Um, but he was calling them out, and you can just see what they've done here with this gap up. So you got to anticipate that they will cool off. But seeing the momentum and hype they can get along with NVIDIA and the fact that NVIDIA had some, I think, a deal with them. You just got to expect that some of this is what we got insider trading that took profits. That's like 4 million. That's going to drive some of the pullback here, right? They've been down for quite a bit of time in this space. So obviously a significant gap up on this stock, we're going to have some take profits. So the story really is that they need to pull off, confirm support, and I wouldn't be too afraid of this one. At least getting shares at a really nice price and seeing what we do with it. And so they're at their 200 cloud with actually a floating candle on the weekly. So we know what to do with a floating candle on the wolf chart. I love that. So I'm going to keep them on watch. I'm happy they're pulling back, honestly. They actually gave a floating candle from that gap up here and then a healthy pullback and sprung right into action. So the resistance is right here around 719. And I thought I saw that somewhere. Oh, I'm like, I knew okay, there we go. There we go. So we're getting that inverse arc, and they kind of are in this fair value gap. Will they come and close this gap and confirm some support around 360-ish? Maybe. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it. So let it cool off. There's no need to chase it here. If you're already in this trade, why would it take profit and caution? It's because they wick through this area right here and they pull right back from this resistance that's already been on the chart for a bit of time. So what you want to see is that support is confirmed at the 12 EMA and we start to curl our way back up. This is on the 4 hour. And so now we're in a battle where we have the seller, this fair value gap from the drop down, and they're also in a fair value gap from this pop up. It's just a battle right here, and that's because of the order block that they ran into. I do like this company. I'm going to do a little bit more research on them and see where the news are. We did have, like I said, some inside selling, and it was millions, so it influenced the move to pull back right here. What else can we look at? QQQ, I'll just share the levels in Discord. Let's look at Google. And we'll look at Tesla real quick, and then I'll wrap it up there. All right, so Google. We are in a daily chart. Google is holding at their 200. Price is trying to reclaim the 200. Friday, they wicked all the way to the 12 and did a nice pop. In fact, I was looking at that from a smaller time frame. Like Google did a nice bounce after that pullback. They just kind of went crazy. Actually, kind of gave a little bit of Palantir's move. So they Friday, this is what we get with Google. All of this, all the way down. I look to the left to see where we get some support, and you can kind of see here. This really was support. They kind of broke under that a little bit and found some support at another level. Nevertheless, the pop-up, if you were just trading this off the wolf chart, we get the inverse arc right at the 12. You get in on Google right here, breaking this resistance. You're in at 168. Google ran all the way to 171. Still a nice squeeze following all confirmations. What we're looking at for Google is on the weekly chart. I believe it was the weekly chart. Yep. We are above the 12 EMA, trying to break this red trend line and start to continue the gap up on there. They do need to break and hold above 170.63, which they did close above that. So I'm going to be watching Google going into next week. And they're also reclaiming the 12 EMA with this candle holding above it. They're above the 200. And we had already received that inverse arc on the weekly. On the daily, we need it's a kind of the same story. They're at the 200 here. We want to see this crossover happening where our 12 EMA crosses the 200. We don't confirm our arc here. We actually get back above the WTMA and price starts to break some of these highs right here. And then if we can get a floater on Google, We're nice all the way up to about $87. That's the story on Google. I like this. I like what's happening. I like that we're getting this 12 curling up. I like that the weekly is already showing confirmation that we've reclaimed the 12 EMA there. And for the fact that they were far below, I mean, news kept beating them down. And now we're getting them right at an area where we just want them to cross. We want this blue to cross this yellow and come and test this trend line. And with that happening, our nearest resistance off of just looking at it from the daily is around 187. Nice swing trade, honestly, if we can start to get those confirmations. So I would just keep watching the daily chart and even looking at it from the 4 hour. Let's see what the 4 hour is giving. Yep, so the 4 hour is showing us that we are right at some resistance with an order block here. But we did get the crossover. We're trying to get that 12 completely over the cloud of the 200. And so breaking out of 175.08, passing 176.77 gives us a nice gap up to the 180s. Again, definitely worth the watch. I keep Google on my radar. I like the way they recovered on Friday. I do like that. Some challenge here from when they pulled back. So something to watch. You definitely want to take Google. Google can be very stressful if you don't have enough time on your your calendar, on your contracts. So make sure you do keep that in mind. And here's what we're seeing. If we just zoom in, because you can barely see it, we have the wolf trend moving average giving that inverse arc formation happening on the 1 hour chart with reclaiming the 12 EMA and breaking above that trend line that they had lost here. So their gap up and a battle is at 172 from the 1 hour chart. That's your nearest resistance. And just still better trades as we start to break through some of this choppiness, leading us to the 180s. I'm not going to spend any more time in the charts. I didn't look at Tesla, so I'll probably just take a peek at Tesla a little bit later tonight. Just wanted to cover a few charts with you. Hopefully next time I'll do a little bit more, but I've been talking all day. We did a pretty long session yesterday, so I hope you found this helpful. Let me know if you have any questions. If I can pop in this week and do another recording midweek to give some insights as to what we're seeing midweek and then help us to close out the week, I'll definitely do that for you guys. Otherwise, have a great week. I hope that you all meet your goals for the week. And just remember, trade smart. Make sure you remember your risk management and how you're managing your portfolio. There's not a game of seeing how low it can go. Make sure that if you're in a losing trade, don't let it lose everything. Have a great weekend. Bye.